It is the story that can be found in history books, movies, and art. The story of Lewis and Clark and the Corps of Discovery, the expedition that embodied the spirit of adventure. They braved the elements, the rattlesnakes, even their own medicine, and remarkably, all but one made it back.
The only person who died on the expedition would have died in Philadelphia or New York or any place else on the East Coast. He just had a condition that couldn't be overcome.
Now, this is not the traditional Lewis and Clark story you know. This is the story of survival, conquering unforgiving terrain, potential fatal diseases in the food they ate, and primitive medical practices. Against all odds, the Corps set out to find the Northwest Passage or perish in the attempt. Lewis and Clark set out along the Missouri River. They were armed not only with weapons, but some of the most dangerous forms of medication. Ironically, medicine that was sometimes more toxic than the diseases it was meant to treat.
The captains as physicians meant well in their medical practice, and they were doing what the medical practice was accepted at that time, how to treat these problems. Unfortunately, they didn't understand the body's function, and they took already suffering people and made them suffer more with their Dr. Rush's bilious pills, their medicines to increase urination, their medicines to increase vomiting. They took suffering people and made them sicker.
Or Perish in the Attempt not only features medical experts, but historians such as Dr. Gary Moulton to give perspective to the story.
There are dozens of these things in the Lewis and Clark story in which there are disagreements. And none of these will probably ever be solved with any great degree of surety. But this is something that keeps us hunting, keeps us questioning, and that's what historical knowledge is all about. Not only can we find definitive answers, but can we find new ways to interpret and understand the past.
We have breathtaking cinematography and a chance to experience the adventure as also told through the eyes of characters such as Pierre Crozat.
The Missouri River was home to the Corps of Discovery during much of the 2 years, 4 months, and 9 days of their journey. It appears very peaceful as it meanders from Montana to Missouri. However, these were indeed troubled waters. They provided fish for many of the evening meals, but these waters also provided bacteria for tomorrow's maladies.
There are certain parasitic organisms which could have been present in the food that they took out of the river, but as long as they cooked it sufficiently, undoubtedly these organisms were killed by the heat of the cooking. But potentially, if they ate any kind of raw food that came out of here or undercooked food, it could have passed along significant dysentery-causing organisms into their GI tract.
But the medicines of Lewis and Clark only made symptoms worse.
The river had many issues, but the land had even more problems. For hiding underneath the rocks from the hot sun, we found snakes. Not just snakes, but rattlesnakes.
The prairie rattlesnake. One bite of the potent venom would leave you feeling the symptoms within minutes. Symptoms, diseases, medicines, and medical practices were misunderstood. Now, most suffered at least one malady, including Sacagawea. They did their best, and that included bloodletting, a painful and dangerous practice, but a cure-all method of the times. It is a little-known story that was hidden in the beauty of the West, such as at the Great Falls of the Missouri, a place where weather could turn violent in a moment. The river could flood without warning, and even the hail could be deadly. Or Perish in the Attempt captures the trip and the trials as never seen before. Experience the untold story of Lewis and Clark, or perish in the attempt.